Delta-Xpress is a ready-to-use splint system for the temporary immobilization or stabilization of the wrist joint and hand after surgery or after injuries. For indications where immobilization or stabilization of the wrist joint and hand is required, for example, injuries of the lower arm, wrist joint and hand, such as fractures, wounds, sprains, strains, dislocations and burn injuries. Measure the size of the forearm by holding the size scale of the wrist splint to the widest part of the forearm. Choose the correct size of the splint. If desired, apply a stockinette or padding onto the limb on areas of bony prominences to avoid pressure points. Check the length of the splint by holding it in the intended final position. In the correct final position, the forearm as well as the carpals have full contact with the splint. Adjust the length of the splint by cutting the proximal side of the splint with scissors. With a 90-degree flex in the elbow, the space between the proximal end of the splint and the elbow crease should be 2 fingers wide at minimum. Place the Delta-Xpress splint onto the limb and adjust at the distal end of the ulna to protect this bony prominence by cutting the splint with scissors. Reposition the Delta-Xpress splint on the limb as described and secure with the bandage or the hook and loop fasteners Delta-Xpress straps. In case you fix it with a bandage, start wrapping at the wrist joint. Fix the wrist and work around the hand. Afterwards, wrap from distal to proximal with a 50% overlap of the bandage. While wrapping, ensure that the splint is kept in the correct position. In case you fix the splint with the Delta-Xpress straps, it's recommended to use at least 4 straps, 2 large and 2 small, to fix the splint securely onto the limb. The straps are elastic to ensure a good fit. First, apply 1 large strap at the wrist. Apply the first small one around the fingers. The second small strap is applied around the web space between the thumb and index finger. Then apply the second large strap at the proximal side of the lower arm. Check the tightness of all straps again and adjust as necessary. Delta-Xpress by BSM Medical.